Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chiquis and Chill. I have some very exciting news to share. So Apple Podcasts has this program called Spotlight. Basically, they pick one podcast they love and highlight it for an entire month so that more people can find it. That's right. Apple's editorial team listens to thousands of podcasts, and they chose Chiquis and Chill. It's the first iHeart podcast to be highlighted, so I'm super excited about this. So if it's your first time listening to the show, welcome, and I'm so happy you're here. And if you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about you. Los amo. Chiquis and Chill is my comfort zone. I talk about anything and everything. Since I have you here, I wanted to remind you of some of my favorite episodes. We have one on cheating and betrayal, losing my mom Jenny, and a really important one with my fertility doctor on freezing my eggs. And of course, I've had interviews with some special guests, so be sure to check those out too. New episodes drop every Monday, you guys. Rate, subscribe to Chiquis and Chill. Don't forget. Now, let's start the show. The one and only Whitney Cummings.
Fame has changed. People either come up to you, they know what you've had for breakfast, they've seen all my specials, and their friend is like, who's that?
I was taught, you need to have your children early so that you can grow up with them.
That stuff is wild to me. And I think the reason that I actually am chill about the kids thing is I froze my eggs when I was 33. Younger guys know that dating younger girls is an actual liability. 20-year-olds aren't that good at sex.
Yeah, they're still learning. I know I wasn't that great in my 20s. Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness. I am so excited for today's episode. It's going to be a really great one. That's because I have an incredible guest with us today. In my opinion, she's one of the funniest people on the planet, and I can't wait to talk to her. So let's get into this. This is Chiquis and Chill. I almost feel like this person doesn't even need an introduction. She's a comedian, actor, writer, producer, director, and podcast host. She also just released her 5th comedy special, Whitney Cummings Jokes, on Netflix now, you guys. Okay, our guest is the one and only Whitney Cummings. How are you, Whitney?
I feel like I just witnessed a broadcasting masterclass.
I wanted to do it really nice for you, okay?
But the things that you guys, they're going to cut out a couple of things that I just witnessed, but I just witnessed the most pro badass gangster shit. That was incredible.
Oh, thanks.
And you know what else you didn't do? That was, you know what? Keep all that in, or pull it and put it on something, because I want people to see the way that you handled, you said something a way that you didn't exactly want to. And a lot of people, when they do, they go, oh, I said that wrong. And they go, sorry. And they get all, you just were like, no, this is what human beings do. And I'm just going to fix it and not waste everybody's time with my perfectionism shit. And you just went, you said something. You're like, she's here. Take 3, 1, 2. And she's with us today. That was incredible.
Thank you so much.
And then you also said something that just made me fall in love with you. And I'm going to steal this, which is someone off camera asked you if you wanted something. And your answer, you just went, surprise me.
Yeah. You know what? When I don't know what the hell I want, I'm like, that was actually my assistant. She's like, what do you want to eat? I was like, I don't know. Surprise me. I was like, just make me happy today.
I mean, but that's a magical way of looking at it, instead of I want my sugar snap peas with it. You just surprise me. And then the person that works for you gets to actually feel valued. And that's an incredible thing to do for the people that work for you.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know who Whitney Cummings is, I'm sorry. You need to know. You need to know. You need to follow her on Instagram.
But really quick, don't you think there's a new kind of fame? Fame has changed. There's people either come up to you, they know what you've had for breakfast, you've changed their life, they have tears streaming down your face, they've read my book, they've seen all my specials, and then their friend is like, who's that? People either know you so well, or they have never heard of you.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Yep.
It's I'll go out in the world and I'll go to, the airport, and someone will be crying, I know everything about you. And they'll know more about me than things that I've talked about that I forgot about. They'll be like, so how's your knee? I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I had a knee thing. And then the next person, I'll be at Starbucks. They're like, what's your name? And I'm like, Whitney. And they're like, what? Whitney? What? And I'm like, nothing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Same. Completely. I totally get it. Absolutely. When did you realize that you were funny? When did you realize that you wanted to be a comedian?
It's interesting because aspiring to be a female comedian was never on the table. It's kind of like more unlikely than like the president of the United States. The idea of, there's no proof really that anyone wants to hear a woman complain for an hour and you have to pay them. And if you challenge them or talk back, security removes you. Like there's, I think most people are like, I don't want to hear my own wife talk that long or my own girlfriend or, so I saw growing up a lot of men that were shushing women, that were like, stop whining, stop complaining. Women's feelings were a burden. Women's feelings were dramatic and hysterical and hypervigilant. We're crazy. We're psychos. And I watched that. And then, I would watch women be kind of shapeshift for a man and try to sort of be this perfect Stepford housewife. And then when the guy wasn't around, it was hilarious. It was just like joke, burn, like, and I was like, this is so, I know this is funny. I think that, guys are so trained to believe as soon as a woman has an opinion or as soon as a woman, she's, judging you, she's emasculating you, whatever. But I was like, I know the medicine that I got growing up. My favorite show growing up was also Roseanne, where it's a family that's just roasting each other. That's how my family, we would just make Thanksgiving, Christmas. I mean, looking back, it would probably be categorized as like emotional abuse today. And also my last name is Cummings. So I also got bullied so much. I had to learn to be able to defend myself.
And is it still very, now that you're like in it, like, is it still very male dominated?
It's interesting because I don't think it is a bad thing if something is dominated in some way. Like no one complains about like, women dominate the field of nursing. Like men aren't mad about that. It's like the veterinary practice. Vets are 90% women. There's some things that it's okay. It just doesn't matter. I think that when we get so wrapped up and this is male dominated, the men in comedy are more sensitive than most of the women I know. So it's like, is it male dominated? These guys are, I've seen most of these men cry over a negative comment on Twitter.
Now that you just said that, I guess it's been embedded, and I've seen it in my genre. It is more male dominated. But now that you said it that way, I'm like, you know what? I like that. I'm going to adopt that because I'm like, you know what? You're right.
We have some masculine qualities, which are traditionally masculine. I think those labels just have to change. And I'm not saying we're all one gender. I have my own thoughts about all that shit. That's what my whole new hour is about. But this is like comedians, you've heard their podcasts. And the reason they're all getting so successful and going to this other level, Dak Shepard included and all this, is because they're being vulnerable. They're going on podcasts or they're going up on stage and they're going, I feel insecure. I have depression. That's what the women are supposed to be doing, talking about their feelings. And then I go on stage and I'm just like, I'm doing the dick jokes. And I'm like, I feel like I'm the only man doing comedy, So it's like, it's really hard because comedians have a lot of traditionally feminine qualities and the women that do it have some traditionally masculine qualities. So it's kind of like.
I get it. Give and take.
In a weird way, I kind of like but in terms of, I think that the domination of the business, because now of the internet and YouTube being able to do podcasts, there's less gatekeepers and the gatekeepers used to be male. And now the gatekeepers, if anyone, it's going to be like the YouTube algorithm or whatever. So I think it's changing, but I don't think it necessarily has to, because comedy is a reflection of what's going on in the world and comedy is fashion. And to make a comedian takes a really long time. So I believe that there's a lot of female comedians right now, they're in their gestation period. So it can't change right away. You can't just go, we want more female. Well, they haven't been made yet. They haven't been inspired enough to get into this business by the people like us, because it went Phyllis Diller made Joan Rivers and then a couple others. And then Joan Rivers made, Sarah Sloan and a couple others. So it's going to keep getting bigger. But I always tell female comics, they're so eager now to go like, we want this to be equal. But it's like, you don't have the skill yet. And the worst thing you can do as a female comedian is get seen before you're ready. And then it's, female comics suck. We knew it. People are like, oh, maybe I feel like a bad feminist when I say this, but I'm like, yes, you are a female. Yes, you're funny, but you've only been doing this for 3 years. You don't deserve to be on that stage yet.
You're so fucking honest. I love it.
I'm just telling you, I'd say the same thing to a guy, but the guys are on stage. He's been doing this for 30 years. So you're going to get on stage and you're going to suck because you're just not ready yet. And then you're going to sort of reinforce all of these stereotypes that are holding you down.
Dude, I wish that you were my freaking friend when I started my career as a singer in 2015, 2014. I would have saved myself so much fucking trouble because that's exactly what it is. It's like they already want to say, oh, okay, girls suck at singing banda because it's very, very like masculine type of music. And so I wasn't ready. And I came out and they brought out a song and it's just like, see, I told you guys exactly what you said. I'm like, oh my God, that's what the freak happened. But you know what? Fuck it. It's been how many years now? Almost like 8. So
yeah. But it's also, I've done a lot of things before I was ready. I think I wrote a book before I was ready. I had a TV show before I was ready. Like, I know what it's like to like have the talent and do the hard work. The key is having faith that it is going to happen. And you only know in your heart, you have to know in your heart that you're going to put the work in. But I think a lot of women right now are confusing the difference between empowerment and entitlement. And it's not empowering for you. You don't get to go on stage before you're ready. It's like being an athlete. You don't get to be in the game yet. You're not a starter yet. Being a woman now in terms of like this, being a strong feminist or being empowered, it doesn't mean bullying and guilting people into giving you something you don't deserve just because you're a girl. But I believe for all of us women, because I think we're all wired to believe we have such a short window because we're going to expire. We're going to get old. We're going to get whatever. That's the self-limiting belief that keeps us down. So it's like, yes, it was put on us. But when you go, the best is yet to come, bitch. Like, I'm going to get hotter as I get older. I'm going to get strong. I'm going to get better. My life is not over at 35. I don't get to send out to pasture. That's fucking bullshit. Most of the people that buy tickets, products are women. And women do not mind if you have crow's feet. They don't mind if you have the flabby arm. They don't give a shit. So stop living your life according to the male gaze of, oh, I'm running out of time because I'm going to be old soon. That's their shit. It's all about the talent, the gift, and what you have to sell, and take off that expiration. I'm going to have kids by then, so I'm not going to be able to achieve my goal. Moms are actually, after you give birth, you have more testosterone. Moms are actually better at running businesses, because they also get better at time management. The mom brain is better. All these things that we were told are going to hold us back are actually part of our superpowers. So let's just lean into them. Getting older is a good thing as a woman.
I got it. And I'm so happy I asked you because I'm learning, showing me to see things differently as well in my genre. So thank you for that. I think we all learned a freaking lesson right now. How old are you, Whitney?
Just turned 40.
That's right. You did have a birthday. Mm-hmm. When was it in
September 4th.
September, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, happy
double
birthday.
Double Virgo. Thank you.
Okay, so tell us. I love that. Honestly, you're just inspiring me right now, because sometimes I do get that. It's like I have no children. Oh my God, I'm 37 and I'm not necessarily ready right now, but it's like I was taught like you need to have your children early so that you can grow up with them and have energy. And I'm just like, dude, I'm chilling right now.
But also the worst thing for a kid is to be brought into the world before you're ready. Mom has so much career ahead. Like, that stuff is wild to me. And I think the reason that I actually am chill about the kids thing is, number one, I froze my eggs when I was 33. And it is something I talked at length about in my book, because I feel like I have to shout this from the rooftops, because number one, when you freeze your eggs, it takes this pressure off. In your 30s, when you're dating, and you can only date someone through the lens of, will they be a good father? We can't help it, but we do that, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or that you're dating someone at 34 and you start lowering your standards because you feel like you only have a couple years left. So you start negotiating with yourself, right? So the older you get, the lower your bar becomes. Like, oh yeah, I mean, he does have a chain wallet, but what am I going to do? Start over? Or like, he does follow 30 porn stars on Instagram, but like, I'm 34. What am I going to start from scratch? Like, this is the best I can do given the biological limitations I have. So number one, it took off those biological limitations, and you want to freeze your eggs young, because they now have the technology that has just been actualized where they can freeze the eggs for 10 years and they do not get freezer burn in the thawing process. So you have your 33-year-old eggs, which is the higher quality ones. You can put them in a surrogate, you can use them, whatever. But I cannot tell you the difference that made in my life. It is not cheap, which is why I tell people like young girls, ask your parents for your graduation gift and your birthday gifts. Just like, for $500 a year and start putting it in the thing. And then you'll have 10 grand eventually to be able to do this or whatever it costs. It's kind of different for everyone. Also, the more we talk about it, the goal is to get it covered by insurance, and your company should be paying for this. Every woman should have access to egg freezing. Google started doing it. Yahoo, I think, and Facebook have done it already. I don't know if I want to freeze my eggs with Facebook, but I'll take their money. Like, can you just send me the cash? Like, I don't want your egg freezing chamber over there. You're taking our data and our genetics. Like, I don't know about that. So that is huge, huge, huge in terms of being able to take that weight off. But also I have a very strong like instinct to adopt. Like, I know that's something that, you know, for me, I like to go, I know what my genetics are. I know my DNA. Genetics load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. But I feel like I would be so paranoid because I have so much addiction in my family and mental illness of this kid having it. And there's 8,000 kids in Appalachia that were born into the fentanyl crisis. And what happens in foster care, just I think about it all the time. Like, you know, there's sexual abuse with them, physical abuse. They put them on all these drugs. So it's not like trying to be a hero. It's just that might be the best fit for me personally as someone who's kind of scared to have biological kids because I know sort of what would be loaded genetically in their brain.
That's crazy because I've thought about that. That's one of the reasons why I've held back. And I have thought about adoption. So now that you're like saying it, you're saying so many things that I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. I haven't said it out loud because I'm like, how is that going to sound? But the truth is because everyone knows my family, but it's just like, I'm a little scared about it.
But you could still have a biological kid. I mean, you could still, one of my best friends had a kid biologically at 42 and then another one at 43. She wasn't even trying. A lot of women do need help in that area, but we all deserve another 10 years. Our 20s were basically unconscious. Our 30s is like, okay, now I'm getting my business started and things are finally cracking for me. If I brought a child into this world right now, I'd be a bad mother. Like, don't pressure me to bring a child into this before I found the father. I got to find the perfect father first or the perfect sperm donor, whatever it is. But the irony is I think the people that are the most trepidatious about having kids are the ones that are the most qualified because they're thinking the way you think. That's why you will be such a great mother because you're waiting and doing it when it's right, not for reasons associated with guilt.
Yeah. I don't want to feel pressured or do things because I feel forced, you know, and I've been trying for a while to freeze my eggs, but I had like this situation with my ovaries and I had cysts or whatnot. So I had to wait. So I'm going to start hopefully in October. God willing.
By the way, thank God you even just went in. Would you have found out about the cyst thing?
Oh yeah. That's how I found out that I had one in there. And that if I went through the process, it was just going to make my cysts grow bigger and bigger. So how many cycles did you go through?
I just did one. I did one of stabbing myself with the hormones, but it was actually kind of a thing because I'd been on birth control pills for so long and I have to be on them for migraines and stuff. But I had been on birth control for so long that by the time I went off it, it took a couple months to menstruate, to start the cycle so that I could then start the shots. It was also very emotional. Like I tell people, like, freezing your eggs, not only because you're getting, you know, shot up with estrogen and you're more emotional anyway, because you're basically getting pregnant. I mean, you get 4 months pregnant essentially, and you're getting pregnant with all these eggs. And ideally, the younger you are, the more you'll get, you know, and you've got 18 eggs that are super swollen. There's that of just the biochemical stuff and the neurochemical stuff. But I just was angry. Yeah. I was like, I have to drive to a doctor 45 minutes 3 times a week just because I'm a woman. Like, I was promised that women could have everything. It made me angry of like, we talk about sexism in Hollywood. We talk about sexism. No one talks about how sexist biology is, but I don't know who to be mad at. God? Like, our bodies are the most sexist shit. My own body is rotting. It knows, my body of all people should know how well things are going. And now you're going to rot on me? You think it just made me angry. It made me angry that there are these biological limitations we have. Is the better you get as a woman, the more seasoned, the more intelligent, the less pregnant we can get. Whereas a 15-year-old who knows jack shit about fuck, she can get pregnant easily. Why does our biology want the dumbest people to get pregnant the fastest?
Yeah, I'm just like that. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. Like I've been holding back because I'm like, damn, I'm already, okay, I'm a Cancer. So I'm already kind of emotional and I'm like, I meditate to like not be so freaking emotional. But then I'm going to be injecting so many hormones in my body that I'm like, I feel like I just need to take 2-3 weeks off because I don't know how irritable I'm going to be, how emotional I'm going to be. Like all that shit scares the fuck out of me, to be honest.
I would like a self-care staycation of like all the movies and shows you need to catch up on and like have your girlfriend stop by and, like I wish I had done that. I didn't do that. I didn't treat myself with tender, loving care when I froze. I was mad at my body. And
I see.
I think that had I had a brain like yours and been like, you know what, I'm going to take 2 weeks off and actually do it, take care of yourself. I didn't think that way. I was like, I just have to jam this in between all the other things I have going on. And it was like a resentful chore, but I was just emotionally not in acceptance at the time of like, I made this movie about neuroscience called The Female Brain, and it's about sort of the differences between male and female brains. And that healed me from my anger towards all of the ways that women are labeled as crazy, sensitive, emotional, because actually all of those are superpowers that are why our species proliferated in tribal times before streetlights, before security guards, being hypervigilant. So you say crazy, I say hypervigilant. You mean I just have super hearing and I can feel with my gut that your ex is texting you because I'm fucking psychic and like you're gonna and they gaslight us into going like, well, you're crazy because we're fucking magical witches. We're magical witches, So it's like we're obsessive about squeezing zits on your that is how we used to expunge infection from the body. Grooming serves a really important purpose in human history. 2,000 years ago, that could mean the difference between life or death. That's why we get serotonin from squeezing zits and pulling hairs and stuff like that. So when I was in the space of freezing my eggs, I was just so mad at my body. And then you're like, wait a second, I can make a person, like I can feel who someone's texting. Like we have all these incredible superpowers. And I'm like, you know what? The freezing eggs thing, we can take them out, put them in. I'm literally a magician. I am Harry Potter at this point, So it helped me change the way I looked at the things that I felt like were holding me back as a woman,
Yeah. I swear everything we've talked about has helped me so freaking much. So this is like, now I'm going to look at it that way. I'm going to just meditate my way through it.
And it's also like when I have a criticism of myself in stopping and just, I like to think all of our thoughts, because most of our inner monologue is not ours. Most of it is the messages we got growing up or the survival instincts and coping mechanisms that we developed and the stories and the narratives that we need to believe in order to rationalize whatever was going on in our family of origin, like in our household growing up. So the idea of like, mom won't pay attention to me. Well, I must be ugly and I'm not lovable and I have to be perfect. But whereas she's just busy, but children don't know the difference. And to self-soothe, they have to make a narrative to make it their fault because they have to keep their parents on a pedestal. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. Like you can't. The thing that's responsible for your survival at that young of an age, if you think they're flawed in any way, it's just too annihilating to the psyche and you're in too much danger all the time. So you have to blame yourself. And so those self-limiting beliefs or whatever ancestral trauma, ancestral programming, a lot of people don't talk about enough of like how we get epigenetic, like imprinting in utero, the same way that a crack baby is addicted to crack because those were the chemicals that were in the body when the baby was in gestation. The neurochemicals also do the same thing. Adrenaline, cortisol. So if you are in utero and a mom who was stressed out in a bad marriage, which all of our moms had stress. Even if they didn't, they did. That was just that generation. So I was an accident. So I was the second, and so she was stressed out and dealing with the first baby and dealing with this one that's coming, So I was born addicted to adrenaline and cortisol, and I would subconsciously gravitate towards it all the time. I was the person that was dating drug addicts and guys that were married but didn't tell me till just chaos. And then just a little lesson I've learned in life. Anyone who says they hate drama loves drama. So I was the person that was like, but I just hate drama, but I'm the one driving to his house. I was so subconscious. It was so like I needed that neurochemical balance because that's familiar. It was that was my equilibrium, So I think also learning what your threshold is for adrenaline, cortisol based on your ancestral trauma and your family of origin. Because basically we tend to, Harville Hendricks wrote this amazing book, psychiatrist, about how we're attracted to people that have the negative qualities of our primary caretaker. So essentially, I know, as you move through the world and you're like, but usually if you're magnetically attracted to someone like that, that is, our society is basically alchemized that into like butterflies and love at first sight. That is fear. That is your body, that is your gut telling you this person's trouble, and it's activating the basically fight or flight response in your brain. Yes, because it's like this guy is a drug all of a sudden because he's creating this drama and mystery and I don't know what he's thinking and I have to be perfect for him and all of my coping mechanisms are going to shine because to have to part with our coping mechanisms, there's also a lot of loss there, you know? We call them Christmas trees, the people that when you walk in a room and you're just like, like I used to the most divorced guy with the most personality disorders, like smoking inside in the corner. I'm like, yeah, like that's just like my drug, you know, and it's not about him. It's not about him. And so for a lot of women, they're like, this guy's so toxic that I'm still with it. He drives me nuts. It's like, what are you getting out of this? Why are you staying? And it's important to know this person either gives me the hit of adrenaline I want, in which case I go, why don't you just go to fucking Six Flags every couple days? I don't know. There's other ways to get that adrenaline fix. Or is your addiction fixing other people? Is your addiction rescuing people? You know, codependence, the 3 M's, mothering, micromanaging, and martyring.
That is me.
We all are wired to recreate our childhood circumstances and find those familiar dynamics, you know? But most of our thoughts are total science fiction. Like, I don't look at my thoughts anymore as facts. I used to. This person thinks I'm a piece of shit. Whoa, it's not true. And I fancy myself someone who is a truth teller and is very honest. And I'm going to believe that fucking garbage. So it's just a thought. It's just an old thing that, I developed that when I was a kid. And those thoughts worked really well when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. Now I just am carrying around in my arsenal a bunch of tools that are obsolete, a bunch of weapons to fight a war that's been over for 30 years, you know? And now they're working. But I like to anthropomorphize them in a kind way and be like, oh, there's that inner bully who's actually trying to help me. When people say inner bully, I don't think that's a perfect way to say it, because I would say like inner helper. Like that's your inner helper. That's your inner champion, because it's your psyche's trying to make you feel safe and get out of a dangerous situation. Or it's just not ours.
Yeah. Oh my.
I look at my thoughts like a Star Wars movie. Like, that's crazy. I actually think she doesn't like me. Isn't that weird? Oh gosh, I actually think that person on the internet that just called me a busted whore, like I just like agreed with him, you know, or whatever. And then go, oh, that's not mine and that's not true. Most of our thoughts are projections from little survival protectors that was like, is this going to happen again? Because this happened when we were 5 and we're not going to let this happen again. So here's the thought to keep you safe. And you're like, no, I don't need that anymore. So I like to kindly say to my own thoughts, like, thank you. You can sit on the bench. I see what's happening. So you also have to be kind to your own inner bully, because our brain isn't designed to hurt us. It's only designed to help us. So if anything in your brain isn't on your side, it's a perception issue.
You live in LA, Whitney?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, nice. Oh my God. I live in Chatsworth. We need to hang. I need to sit down with you. I want to go to lunch. I have learned so much. Like, you've inspired me on it. I felt like through Instagram, like, I feel like, okay, I know you, but that's just, I don't know. I want to read your book. I want to I'm like, dude, I can learn so much from you. Like, you're blowing my fucking mind right now. I'm like, wait a second. It feels nice to sit with someone and be like, I'm learning something. These are the type of friendships and relationships I want. So thank you for that. I'm like, dude, she's speaking straight to me right now.
You know, addiction can even be a superpower. I identify as an addict and I come from a lot of addiction. But if you can use that super machine of addiction, which is basically our brains don't hold dopamine the same way in our dopamine receptors. It's just like a brain disease that I think can actually be an advantage. So I got lucky and was able to turn my addictive personality for good. I use it with work, and I use it with rescuing animals, and I use it with Operation Smile, which is, you know, we go to third world countries and help kids that were born with cleft palates and cleft lips. And, you know, so it's like, I got lucky. Yes. During the pandemic, I went a little crazy with the edibles, and I was like, oh, I know where that can go. Like that's a no for me, because, but I made my addiction to work more important, you know? So now it would be the edibles are just getting in my way of making great work. So that's got to go. So there's also a way to change what you're addicted to. I like to call healthy addictions, you know, instead of being addicted to whatever it is, whether it's, you know, drugs or a person or sex or porn or gambling or whatever. Like, what if you just got addicted to promoting yourself on Instagram, starting that podcast that you show, you know, writing that book? Like, there's a way to do it. And to be able to just sort of change what your brain is addicted to is, I think, and all the things that, you know, ostensibly are supposed to be shortcomings, I see as positives. It's like, oh, you have OCD. It's like, no, dude, I'm not sending in the book until it is perfect. I've done 12 drafts. Like, this is a good thing for me. I don't want to dull that part of myself. It's a superpower. Sure. I don't want to dull it.
I mean, honestly, I can talk to you all freaking day. I've learned so much, and I feel like there's so much we have to talk about. Like, we're both dating younger men. I have a lot of questions.
Oh gosh.
So yeah.
How old?
He is 7 years younger. So I'm 37. He just turned 30. So it's been fun.
Love it.
Having great sex. It's awesome. So yeah.
It's also younger guys. They grew up with Beyonce, like in Oprah. Like, they love women. They respect women, and they also know, I think inherently, that dating younger girls is an actual liability because they tweet if you have bad sex, they'll cancel you. If you didn't eat them out perfectly, you're a rapist. But it's really exciting. I also think it's like the smart ones also know that like 20-year-olds aren't that good at sex.
Yeah, they're still learning. I know I wasn't that great in my 20s.
No, like we got there, but like these guys that are dating, like I'm dating this hot 20-year-old. I'm like, cool. Like, so you have to jerk yourself off. Like, I don't know how this works. Like, you have to give someone a tutorial on how to give a hand job. Like, what is that your kink? Teaching? Like, ugh. So,
I freaking love you, dude. I honestly think you're a total vibe. If you guys have not watched Whitney Cummings' Jokes, you guys have to watch it on Netflix. I already said it in the beginning, but like you have to go watch it. And also, you need to follow her on Instagram. Can you share your socials with me, Whitney, please?
Yes, just Whitney Cummings. Whitney Cummings on Instagram, Twitter. WhitneyCummings.com is my website. I'm about to do a big project on OnlyFans that is the roasts. Remember when the Comedy Central roasts, and we used to do these like Savage Friars Club roasts, and everyone's too scared to do roasts now because of this like mirage of like PC culture killed comedy. That's not true. It's like 2,000 people on Twitter that aren't even buying tickets. So it's a better time than ever to do comedy, edgy comedy, whatever. But OnlyFans is the best place to do it because it's like, instead of dirty videos, instead of dirty photos, it's dirty jokes.
I love it.
So
oh my God,
I'll have an OnlyFans page soon. And that is where OnlyFans is. That's where you make the money, honey. It's, by the way, it's also way less pornographic than Twitter or Instagram at this point. It's like teachers in bikinis, and they're making an extra $200,000 a year on top of their $30,000 salary. And it's like awesome.
You know what? I think I'm going to do an OnlyFans and just talk about shit that I can't really, say on social media. So I'm going to
100%. It'll be massive. I mean, Bad Baby makes $20 million a month. Cardi B, I mean.
Dude, that is freaking you guys. You know what? We got to talk about that too. And Whitney, I am so happy that you were on. Like I said, I think I said it like 10 times. I've learned so much already. I want your cell phone number. We need to kick it.
Yes, please.
And you guys know that I always have a quote for you at the end of every episode of Chiquis and Chill. The quote for today is, I found I was more confident when I stopped trying to be someone else's definition of beautiful and started being my own. You guys, that's the quote. That's all I have for you today. Whitney, again, muchas gracias. Sending you a big old hug, and I'll see you soon. We live down the street from each other.
Yes, we're hanging, whether you like it or not.
Hanging. Thank you, guys. I love you so much. Do you need advice on love, relationships, health, y más? I'm so excited to share with you that my Chiquis and Chill podcast will have an extra episode drop each week. I'll be answering all your questions. Just leave me a voice message con todas tus preguntas y yo te las voy a contestar personalmente. All you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/Chiquis and Chill podcast and record your questions. I can't wait to hear from you. This is a production of iHeartRadio and the My Cultura podcast network. Follow us on Instagram at My Cultura Podcast and follow me, Chiquis, that's CHIQUIS. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.